Okay. Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. So before we begin, we just take the time to acknowledge that we're all on Aboriginal land. And when we talk about, I'm on Worimi people's land, that this is a spiritual sovereignty that that in a recorded Aboriginal history goes back to the beginning of time, and when they were given instructions by the Creator to take care of the country. And they have been doing that for thousands of years. So to acknowledge and pay respect to that faithfulness, that fidelity, and to especially the elders that kept the educational traditions, both in the past and the present, and for those who are upcoming, that these traditions of stewardship and custodianship can continue on forever. Thank you.
Young.
Yes, this is a French song. I was a senior high school teacher teaching in a French high school, and therefore we know about these songs. But this song is only dedicated for all the young kids under 10 years old to celebrate the garden of their parents. Dans le jardin de mon père, les lilas sont fleuris, tous les oiseaux du monde viennent faire la nuit. Auprès de ma blonde, qui fait bon, fait bon, fait bon. Auprès de ma blonde, qui fait bon dormir. That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
سبحانك اللهم يا إلهي طهر عيني ثم أذني ثم لساني ثم روحي ثم قلبي ثم نفسي ثم جسمي ثم جسدي عن التوجه إلى غيرك ثم اشربني عن كأس إذك المختوم ثم اشربني عن كأس إذك المختوم سبحانك اللهم يا إلهي طهر عيني ثم أذني ثم لساني ثم روحي ثم قلبي ثم نفسي ثم جسمي ثم جسدي عن التوجه إلى غيرك ثم اشربني عن كأس إذك المختوم ثم اشربني عن كأس إذك المختوم.
Okay. So this goes in the order that because when I suggested that everyone bring 2 quotation, the last week itself, Colin Sandys. So I give this his first quotation. Who can read the first quotation?
Sima, we're not seeing the quotation, we're seeing the image that I sent.
Oh. So maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
Writing is very small if you have put it there. Can't see.
If it's the quotations which I suggested, I can put them on screen.
Wait. Do you see that now?
Yes.
Okay. So who can read this?
Okay.
Colin himself.
From the Islamic writings. Permission to fight is given to those on whom war is made, because they are oppressed, and surely Allah is able to assist them. Those who are driven from their homes without a just cause, except that they say, "Our Lord is Allah." And if Allah did not repel some people by others, cloisters and churches and synagogues and mosques, in which Allah's name is much remembered, would have been pulled down. And surely Allah will help him who helps his cause. The Quran.
So maybe we read the next quotation and then discuss.
From the Baha'i writings. The all-knowing physician hath his finger on the pulse of mankind. He perceiveth the disease and prescribeth in his unerring wisdom the remedy. Every age hath its own problem, and every soul its particular aspiration. Baha'u'llah.
Yes,
Should we read through all the quotes, or should we discuss them as we go?
I think we go as we go, because some of the quotations are going to be. Yes, I think we go as we read them.
Okay. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, yeah, anyone can share their screen. Yes.
Okay. You might have to stop sharing yours.
I think the person that is put the quotation maybe give some background on why they're chosen and things like that.
Yeah, good idea. So I'll just swap the order here for context. In interfaith, it's natural to focus on the things which unite us, and pretty much we find that in every religion, the spiritual, ethical teachings unite us, and so. But then when we get to the social teachings, they change from age to age, and so they can get a bit controversial. And Baha'u'llah explains it this way: the all-knowing physician hath his finger on the pulse of mankind. He perceiveth the disease and prescribeth in his unerring wisdom the remedy. Every age hath its own problem, and every soul its particular aspiration. And so this is about the progressive social nature of religion. Throughout history, God has sent to humanity a series of divine educators known as manifestations of God, whose teachings have provided the basis for the advancement of civilization. Now, I won't read that bit yet because I just swapped the orders and it won't make sense. But the point is that in the time of Muhammad, there wasn't like the Romans to create order. There wasn't a strong national government. Certainly wasn't an international government. And so when the destinies and security of his followers and a whole town at Medina came to rest in his hands, he acted as a ruler should, with tact and forbearance, with wisdom and justice, which included neutralizing the efforts of the enemy, because they were constantly under attack. That's the view of one historian, Hassan Bilyuzi, and in his book, as a good historian, he says this is just one interpretation. There's of course many interpretations of what happened in the beginning of Islam. But what did happen, and this is something which historians have no doubt about, that over from a place where the tribes weren't unified, this draconian rule succeeded in creating over 5 centuries of moral, intellectual, cultural, and economic achievement unmatched before or since in the speed and scope of its expansion. So while Christianity was adopting a lot of the features of the civilization, they were resisting the Quran because they wanted to protect Christianity. And of course, what happened was that the leaders of Christianity lost their power anyway. So that's just to look at the progressive social nature of religion. The other quote about permission to fight. A lot of people say that it's an aggressive religion, but at least one scholar who's been highly respected in the Muslim community for 80 years since he wrote, his name's Maulana Muhammad Ali, has analysed the concept of jihad and looked throughout the Quran, and he says that not only did the Quran not say anything that religion should be promoted by force, but he didn't even think that, and he said the exact opposite. He said that there's no compulsion in religion. So the second quote shows that in the Quran, fighting was permitted for defensive reasons only. It was not only for the religious liberty of Muslims, but for the principle of religious liberty itself. As you can see, the quote says that if we didn't defend the Christians and the Jews, all of these holy places would have been pulled down. Now, talking about the progressive nature of religion, we live in a different time where it's becoming possible that the world can come up with a better system, that we can have collective security when we're united. And so Baha'u'llah said, "O people of the earth, the first glad tidings which the mother book hath in this most great revelation imparted unto all the peoples of the world is that the law of holy war hath been blotted out from the book. Glorified be the all-merciful, the Lord of grace abounding, through whom the door of heavenly bounty hath been flung open in the face of all that are in heaven and on earth." So I suppose in summary, I would say that it used to be that you had to defend yourself with force because there was no law to appeal to. But now, in this new age, that law of self-defense by force has been blotted out from the book. A lot of my own thoughts in there. But those are my quotes for discussion.
So any comments, questions, comments?
I like that sort of image of God being like the physician, being close and being aware of the state of humanity and responding, whether we take our medicine or not is another matter. But that God is trying to at least be a good physician to us.
Yeah, exactly. It's very hard to take the medicine when we don't want to.
I think first of all they have to accept that he is a physician, and then understand that this is the remedy, and then take it and use it. So at different levels there are challenges.
There is also a quotation in Quran saying, there's a phrase saying that we are closer to you than your life vein in your neck, meaning that we are always with you, God being with us.
Yes.
I think there's another notion about the remedies here. I believe in natural healing. So whatever people created or whatever people think they have friction among themselves about any reason, and religious study is only one of the topics, but we always believe that God always gives love and understanding, and therefore natural healing should come along. Or we have, talk about fighting about religion is unreasonable, because for the modern time, we have organizations like NATO, the American or whatever other nations in the United Nations holding a peacekeeping forces. So everything gonna be okay. I mean, I'm optimistic anyway.
That is good.
All right, thank you for the discussion.
Yes. Yes, we have to be optimistic.
And the other side of God being the physician, no matter what, whether it's, usually God will give us natural medicine, but we have to admit that we're sick. We need medicine. The sort of denial is one of the greatest sicknesses. When you think you're all right and everybody else is not all right, then you need even more remedies.
Yeah.
A denial that, we need to recognize that we could be better, we could do better, and humanity could do a lot better than what it is at the moment in the terms of caring for each other and caring for the planet.
And Tracy is into natural medicine, natural healing. So even the natural healing is given by God or guided by God. So I think the healing we have to, it's not only the physical healing, it's our spiritual healing as well. So, so for that, we had to get the guidance from the God to get us spiritually healing. Or
Intellectually we know that we need cooperation, but how to change our old habits, it needs some kind of spiritual revolution, I think, from time to time.
So from your quotation that from the Quran, the fighting or the war was allowed as a defense.
Yes, and the people who defend Islam, Muslims and scholars, and also I would say Baha'is, at least me, would say that all of the wars were essentially defensive, because there was I mean, if someone was coming to your front door, how close would you let them get before you tried to repel them? Especially if they've got weapons and an army.
So what is the meaning of holy war?
Oh, look, that's the most interesting question. It means struggle. It could be an inner struggle, and this scholar I talked about says that was the primary meaning of it in the time of Muhammad. But then, of course, as soon as Muhammad passed away, the caliphs took over and said, "Look, we've got this army. What will we do with it?" So they we got the worst spot in the Middle East. Let's expand. So they did, and then all the interpretation and the jurisprudence revolved around an interpretation of jihad as meaning a battle for promoting the religion, which I think is a wrong interpretation. I don't think it was there in the beginning. And then there's holy war. Baha'u'llah abolishes holy war. Obviously, he's not abolishing spiritual struggle, And I don't think he's abolishing something which didn't exist, which is promoting Islam by force. He wouldn't abolish it if it wasn't there to abolish. But I think he's saying there's no more using force to defend yourself. We've got to come together as a society and have collective security.
You see, the problem with history that let the past stay in the past. The problem that we keep stirring it up. We just open the books and we read it and we talk about it, so we stir things up. That the past should be left in the past. If you want to create peace, you don't pull back like 100 years old story out and start talking about it. And you know, that's not a good idea to promote unity and peace. And therefore, talk about natural healing, human being, body connected to the universe, just like you have fire, water, good, air, and all these elements. And we, the one, the human being, disturb the universe, just like we fire rockets to the moon by itself is going to be left alone and quiet and peaceful. And we, the one who sends Sputnik up to it. So we, the one who imbalance and disturb the nature. So therefore, we have to reconcile with nature if we want peace and unity.
Yeah, hopefully our higher nature, not our lower nature.
Well, when we talk about nature, I'm sorry, when we talk about nature, I'm talking about nature as total. I don't divide upper part of the body or lower part of the body, because they are all very important to create a total human nature anatomy. If you study medicine, you know that. The upper part cannot be lived happily without the bottom part. Is not healthy. Therefore, natural healing should be occur from the total, from the top to toe.
I think Baha'u'llah annulled the Holy War law because it was misused by the people in the past, especially the Ottoman Empire, and then misinterpreted completely. And as Colin said, the war was only allowable as a defense. And this actually happened in the Babi time. A number of times, the Babis gathered in some areas, very famous areas like Badasht or a few other places, and they only the government sent soldiers to destroy the gatherings, and they only attacked as a defense in order to defend themselves. And even at the end, the soldiers promised them on Quran that they wouldn't harm them, and then they came out and they were executed. So it was misused completely in the past. It wasn't meant by Muhammad to be a tool for spreading the faith. And in his time, this never happened. It was always defense.
Yes. So in my opinion, most of the problems stems from the misinterpretation or misunderstanding of the holy writings. Yes. So we have to be careful that we don't misinterpret or misunderstand our own writings or other religious writings. So if we are trying to bring interfaith reconciliation or understanding, we have to be open-minded and also to accept that we are also fallible in our readings of our writings and other writings. Sachi, Robert.
Actually, sorry to add to your comment, that Baha'u'llah says that only the manifestations of God can interpret the writings of the past and give keys to the writings. Otherwise, man, has got many interpretations that could be just a whim of the self.
Yes. Yes.
And that probably links the two quotations that Colin came to brought for us.
Yes.
That only the physician can give the right message.
Yes. Robert, Sachi, Zore, Atane, Sivalingam. Any comments?
I have only one comment on this about the war and killings in a religion. Because recently I read some quote saying, one of our teachers, he said, God doesn't need human soldiers to protect himself or his wishes. If he needs, then how much powerful is he? So this was a quotation about this, because we are trying to bring peace and brotherhood and unity. Then if you think of that, it will never happen. So I will try to just only put on that. Better, we should not talk about war and this thing in religions.
Yes. You're right. I mean, God doesn't need, Almighty, powerful God doesn't need soldiers to him.
He can deal with that, or the karma will lead if you believe in karma. So
Yes.
we need not worry about that.
Yes.
If you believe on something, go on.
Yes.
But don't fight.
Yes.
Don't try to put your one in
Yes.
to convert or something like that. Just go on with your life.
Yes. I have to introduce the friend who just joined. Thomas, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, I'm here, finally.
Thomas is a Baha'i originally from America, living in Japan. And I met him on the internet on another meeting. So he is joining us. And Thomas, not all here are Baha'is. And this today's meeting is formatted because of the festive season. We changed the format a little bit. We asked friends to share 2 quotes, and then we discuss about those quotes. So Colin Dibdin shared 2 quotation, and we are in the process of discussing. And everyone can say hello to Thomas.
Hi there.
Hello.
Okay, so yes, I agree with Sachi that God doesn't need any soldiers to defend himself. My only thing is that God gave human the free will to choose, and by their choice, they make these things happen. So the war is part of the man's making, not God's making.
But if you say that I want to protect God's will and wishes, then it doesn't apply there. If he doesn't like it, he can stop by himself, by other means.
Exactly, yes. Now, if I say I'm protecting God's will, according to my understanding of what is God's will is, and then another one will say, I am protecting God's will, and this is my understanding. So
So that is ignorance.
That's right, exactly.
That's the thing.
Ignorance and misunderstanding, and So if we all
And you are downgrading the God also. You are there. You are powerless. Like
that's right, yes. So if we are open-minded and there is a reason why other person thinks or say or do things in a way, and to bring understanding in a peaceful manner. So this is what we try through this interfaith meeting.
But one of the questions we can ask from ourselves is that why I'm here? What is the purpose of my being on this planet? Am I here to fight, or am I here to kill somebody, or am I here to make friends and to be like to find my way of reaching to the the human being? What is the meaning of human being? To be nice, to be kind, all the virtues, and I feel that that's the way that we always ask ourselves why I'm here. Am I come here to be a nice, good friend, good mother, like that? That's, I feel this is a question we should ask every day from ourselves, that to elevate our station as a human being, how can I be a help to somebody? Or that I feel that's my maybe destiny. And always when you are there, then I love going the way that Baha'u'llah shows me how to be nice. What is the meaning of being a good person? It's so easy to read the hidden words of Baha'u'llah and 7 valleys. You have valleys, 7 of them, to get there, to get to the place that I should be, or somebody. There is nothing about fighting or competition. It's always about cooperation, working together. I feel.
Yes.
I'm trying to go through valleys, the 7 valleys.
Let's listen from anyone who has not commented on this. Otherwise, we can go to the next quotation. Robert Sivalingam Fatani. No. Okay, any final comment from anyone? Yes, you.
I think the final comment on your ideas, I think we have to take it from the Bible, when Jesus said to people that just, people killed by sword will die by the sword. If they use the sword to kill people, then they will be dying or be dead by the sword. So if you base on the Bible, Jesus doesn't, let people get too excited about killing or create war or fighting, because it's all wrong. We talk about religions, we talk about peace, love, charity, compassion, merciful, everything. Merciful, why we keep open the old book, read about all the old stories, and keep talking about fighting. It is extremely dangerous. It's like indoctrination. Younger generation, if they're not aware of it, they will get into it. And we have to avoid all these negative ideas about fighting.
Thank you. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Or maybe we'll go to Jung's quotation that came up. Is that one you can see now? Is it yours?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you.
Okay, so you can read it and tell something about it.
Yes, this is this afternoon. Actually, this quote really caught my eyes. I never read this before because I'm a Catholic, so I don't know much about Baha'i writing, especially the hidden, like precious writing. And this is talk about men of two visions. And when I read it, I reckon, because I read a bit of about Buddhism and about Buddhism, that he talk about the third eyes. So actually people have so many eyes, 1 eye, 2 eyes, 3 eyes, the spiritual eyes, you know, like just like to drive a car, you got a rear vision. So another eye is back of your head. So what I'm saying is close one eye and open the other. Well, I didn't see this one in a French, you know, any French writing. Close one to the world and all that is therein, and open the other to the halo beauty of the beloved. So, I mean, when I read it, because I'm so simple, I will say, why we have to close one eye to see this, and why we have to close another eye or something to see the other thing. Because as a simple person, we find this normally, automatically, anatomy, if you study medicine, 2 eyes gotta be seen together, including spiritual eye and the third eye, when you can see into people, mind, you know, like telepathy. Telepathy means you communicate through so many different, spectrum from the body. So just like you drive in a car, you need to see in front, you need to see sideways, left-hand side, right-hand side, back of the head. They call, like, if somebody's so aware, they will say, oh, you look like you have an eye back of your head, an eye between your eyebrows, just like Buddha. But I think I look at this and I think this might be more meaning in this sort of code, men of two visions, that we need to study more. We study more because we always want to learn something more, and something that, like you say, halo beauty of the beloved. Just like this is another part of religion. Religion all talk about beauty and peace and love. So therefore you're not allowed to talk, or we are not allowed to talk about fighting. We need to talk about unity. Is, I mean, you know, like main principle and main topic of our interfaith dialogue.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad that you found a quote from the Baha'i faith. Let me ask friends who are not familiar with the Baha'i meanings, what do they understand from this quotation? Like Tracy and Sachi.
To me, it seems to be saying, don't just look at the world and be focusing on what your physical eyes are seeing, but be open that, you know, there is God in this spiritual realm of that's there all the time. There's another sphere that we can be engaged with, and you know, open yourself to that as well, not just being lost in your senses. But anyway.
Sachi.
Yeah, actually, it is indirectly telling about the material world and the spiritual world. So when you close your eye onto the world, you are really closing the material part. When you open the other one, you are going into spiritual pathway. Mainly, all the religions are mainly made of spirituality. So that's what we have to do that here.
Thank you.
Siva, can I say my understanding of it?
Sure.
You know, in this quotation, Baha'u'llah doesn't mean that you close one of your physical eyes and open the other physical eye. He actually means closing your physical eyes to the wealth and the world and open the inside eye, the inside eye of the spirit to what the other part is, which is hallowed beauty of the beloved. So this quotation is really for contentment. We should be content with what we have in the physical world and look at the spiritual world as well. And this quotation is really very important for today, because a lot of people, many people nowadays only see the physical world and do not believe in God, and only see what they have, but the wealth they have, the work they do, and they do not have that spiritual feeling that there should be in a human being. So I think it's kind of, he means closing the physical eyes and opening the inside eye, the inner being eye.
I think that's what Buddha's meditation and Hinduism, the meditation says, that will to open our inner eye to see the spiritual aspect, and no, close it, just to concentrate on that, not on the physical thing. I think the Buddhism, the meditation and all is mainly about helping us to open our inner eye. That's what my understanding is.
Yeah.
Colin has put his hand up.
Yeah, I think I agree with all the comments so far, and I think a good illustration. I mean, this is something addressed to every individual, but you can see what happened when Jesus came. Outwardly, he didn't impress the religious leaders, even though they studied all the books which said he was coming, and knew all the prophecies back to front, and yet they didn't see. They were looking with the wrong eye. Whereas Peter, who's a simple fisherman, could look at Jesus and see the hallowed beauty of the beloved.
Yes, Young.
You know, but when you see the statue of Buddha, you see how Buddha, I'm not Buddhist, but I noticed that when Buddha meditates, he closes both eyes, but he could see everything. He could see far beyond 1,000 years past, 1,000 years gonna come into the future and present. So he doesn't have to close one eye and open the other. He just closed 2 eyes. I mean, physically, because as a simple person, as I mentioned, a simple person,
Yes,
they cannot see in the code that open your inside eyes or outside eye. They couldn't see that because they're so simple. But then you see, if they go to Buddhist temple, they see Buddha, he closed both eyes, but he saw everything. People come to him, he knows.
yes.
People will come to him, he predicted it. He will do anticipation, he will do a lot of guessing and anticipate, and he knows the person gonna step into the pagoda. So that is come from his third eye. And maybe he had more than third eyes. So I don't really know.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
If you look at the old religions, the gods' statues that they have, you always see, especially Hindus, for example, they draw a big eye in the middle of the forehead. And they really mean that inner eye for that forehead, the single eye that is in the forehead, rather than the 2 physical eyes, for those gods' statues that they have.
Yes, you're right. Yes, so they actually, as you said, and as all of us, Tracy and Sachi and Young, they said that it is closing the our focus on the material things. Stop that and focus on the inner spiritual thing through your spiritual eye. So that's what it is. Do you want to share the other quote now, Young? Or
Oh, yes, I have a little one. you remember last week we talked about the birth of the manifestation of God,
Yes.
and like a prophet or something, and something I was not quite 100% happy with it because I got a very curious mind.
Yes.
And so therefore, this week I just want to say something about Virgin Mary, the birth of Jesus, because you know, through history, if people read Bible, they gotta read Bible, and depends on who wrote the Bible in the old days. Talk about one of the prayer of Hail Mary. In the Hail Mary prayer, we talk about Mary, the mother of God. Blessed are you among women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. So then through that sentences, I say the birth of Jesus for me is a miracle, because just like the birth of Buddha is a miracle, and the mother inherit or suffer no pain. Because in the talk last week, we read about a paragraph of a manifestation of God was born and the mother was in great pain. But I mean, if we read about the Bible, then we see the Bible didn't say mother of God was in pain. The mother of God was with Joseph. And in the Buddhist writing, the mother of Buddha, she was in the garden and she experienced no pain at all according to the writing of Buddhism. So because first of all, they are the women who are blessed by God, by Holy God. So therefore they should not, or they wouldn't have to suffer so much pain in childbirth. And because all the picture of all the Merry Christmas, thousand years portray to us that Mary was with Joseph, with the baby in the manger, not in a desert. And Mary was blessed by a great angel, and above the head of the angel was the word Gloria, Gloria. So it was a happy birthday, not a painful birthday. So therefore, I just want to emphasize about that part.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, yeah, as our protocol, we don't want to be in contention with someone else's view. As Liana presented last time, and also in the Baha'i writings, Baha'u'llah also has similar words about it. I think we shared that in the last week's reading. But so I do not want to encourage into a situation where who is right or who is wrong. So let us investigate further into this. If we really want to find some real answers to this. So I think we will go to next quotation. Tracy, would you like to share your quotation?
Sure. My first one is very short. It's from Buddhism. It's before enlightenment, chop wood. After enlightenment, chop wood. So we still got the same, have the same external life, but it's the attitude, the approach, the spiritual richness of appreciation of what is on another level, bringing that into daily life, which is what enlightenment is meant to be. That there's not this sort of separate and this searching and struggle, but you still have to look after yourself and your responsibilities, your practical responsibilities, but you can have it with a different inner eye being opened, and then it feels completely different. So I've always, the two quotes, I've had these close to my heart for a long time. So that's the first one. So that's from Zen Buddhism.
So that means before enlightenment, chop wood.
Yep, chop wood.
And then after enlightenment, chop wood.
Yes.
That means still you have to do the things that you had to do in this world. Yes. But you had to try and get enlightenment. Wow.
I think Baha'u'llah says something very similar or close to that.
Yeah.
The time of speaking and talking is finished. It's the time of action. You have to, whatever you preach, you have to do it. You know, the time of sitting somewhere and just praying, or the time of just talking, preaching is all finished. It's the time of action. Like, do what you say. If you say, I want to be a good person, you have to show it by action. Just by saying it, I think when you say, chop the wood and enlightenment, this is, I feel, is the same. That, you know, is a time of action. Do.
My understanding was that you have to, even before meditation or after meditation or enlightenment, you have to persevere and persist into finding the truth. So chopping the wood is more, do more, do more, do more until you understand more.
Yes. Sore, with that, what Sore said, probably this is one of the quotation that I was going to share. Is that similar to what Sore you are trying to say? Guidance. Can you see the quotation?
Yes.
Guidance had never been given by words, and now it is given by deeds. Everyone must show forth deeds that are pure and holy, for words are property of all alike, whereas such deeds as these belong only to our loved ones. Strive then with heart and soul to distinguish yourselves by your deeds. In this wise, we counsel you in this holy and resplendent tablet. So I don't think this is from Hidden Words. I'm not sure, but this is one of the quotation that I shared. But is it something similar to what Zora you are trying to say?
Yes, very similar.
Yes. Yes. Any other comments on Tracy?
The other Siva has got his hand up.
Yes, Siva.
Yeah. Can I say, even in the current world condition, we have been seeing everybody giving very inspiring words and languages and whatnot, but very few people are moving, and very few people are moving and showing by deeds. For example, Mother Teresa has shown her work by deeds, not words. And there are a lot of other people. I think at this age, at this particular age, they need deeds. Deeds by everybody, the Baha'is, the non-Baha'is, everybody. And people are, when you do deeds, whatever you do, these are like fragrance to everybody. You think, oh, I smell something good. This is what we should do. And they follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Jaspal, your comment. Thank you for coming after a long time.
Thank you. I have been doing my course, and that was delayed because of the lockdown. So my apologies for that, for missing these sessions. I was listening to, but all the participants hear the wise words. But I just want to add is that enlightenment, when we see God around, that eye is different, not these eyes which see this world. The eye which see the God real prevalent all around is a different eye. How we get that eye, I have to quote that when one gets Guru's grace and God's grace through meditation by obeying the words of the Guru and obeying the will of the God and meditating upon the word of the Guru, reciting God's name, singing God's praises, a day comes when one really gets grace of the Guru and God, and then only this eye opens, what we call as the third eye, or we call it Dibdrisht in Hindi, or you can say Punjabi Dibdrisht. Dibdrisht one gets only when one gets Guru's and God's grace. Also, it is mentioned that we need feet of fear of God. We need hands of love of God, hands of love of God, and eyes. What we need is when our mind is absorbed through meditation with God, what we call as sur. So, feet of fear, hands of love, and eyes of when we our sort, what we call as whatever thought and mind, they become absorbed with Guru and become one with Guru. Through Guru's words, one becomes one with the God, and only then this eye opens, and what we see around is all God, but nothing but God, what we see around. Thank you so much for.
Thank you. So the feet of fear of God, hand of love, and the eye of
So we when our mind becomes one with the Guru's words through by singing God Guru's words, when our mind just becomes one with through words through reciting the or singing of Guru's Shabad. Yes. Our mind is absorbed, and our surt, what we call as we call it thought, mind. When our mind and thought just become one with God through singing of Guru's words, yes, then only this eye opens through Guru's grace, of course. Yes. Guru's grace is required. God's grace is required. It's all grace of Guru and God that one can get. Otherwise, these eyes, we all know, we are not seeing as it should be, because this word is nothing but God. This is all manifestation of God. But still, in real sense, we are not getting that feeling always that we this word is nothing but God. It's all manifestation of God. All human beings are manifestation of God. What we speak, what we listen, the chirping of the birds, and this everything is what is happening is actually God. But only when the third eye opens, one really can realize all these things in real sense.
Thank you. Thank you for that valuable insight. I will remember that feet of fear of God, hand of love, and the mind in line with the words of God and focusing on that. And that is the eye. Okay. Okay.
The quotation in original is,
yes.
Charan is God, fear. Charan means feet. Charan karpa, kar means hand. Hand of love for God, love for Guru's Shabad, love for human beings, love for karpa, loin surt ke, loin means eyes. Loin surt kare, nanak hai syanio, kant milava ho. Kant is God. Our beloved is God. We can meet God if we make these three things. So we need package charan karpa avke loin sort kare nanak hai syaniye ev kant mlawa. These are words of the Guru Nanak.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, Tracy, do you want to share your next quotation?
So this is from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God, or daughters of God as well. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you."
Oh.
So, as I've mentioned previously, when I turned away from Christianity for a while, I came back to reading the Sermon on the Mount according to Vedanta. So then, they used to go very deeply into, that whole thing of what you do to others. It comes back to, if you mourn, you will be comforted. You have to, long for that righteousness, long to see God. God will respond to the heart of the seeker, the heart of someone who cares about humanity. And we can become one with God and be with God. And whatever other people say or persecute, it doesn't really matter in the end. We have compassion for them because they don't understand what God's like. They're just babies crying. So anyway, that's something that I return to, that those words of Jesus time and time again, trying to live them, trying to be that they're a guide, and to be a peacemaker. And it's a precious and holy activity. And then from the first quote, our daily life is also holy. So somehow we have to marry it all together, our relationships, with people and with God and with nature, and it's all intertwined, But anyway, thank you.
Yes.
I think I agree with Tracy that this sermon from Christ is for a pattern of living for human beings. And if we do those things, we will become spiritual beings.
Yes. Any other comments?
I feel that maybe in the physical we are one person, but in the spirit we are all one. We have to feel that we are all one, and that being all united, or all being like one spirit. There is one spirit and we are all part of those. It's like we are all like a bubble, but when the bubble is burst, we are all in one universe or one spirit. And when we think that we are all one, that If somebody is sad, we should feel the sadness. If somebody is happy, we have to feel happy. Unless everybody is happy, or unless everybody has comfort, our spirit doesn't feel that comfort, because we are part of that one. We can't realize it sometimes, but even those people who have everything from material world, they don't feel as happy, because their spirit knows that even they have everything the other people don't have, and it doesn't bring happiness. And being a part of one, I feel that we have to be like being very rich, you know, we are a part of a whole. It's like one drop goes to an ocean, drops in the ocean, he feels that is a part of ocean, even though he has only little bit of contribution, but you feel become as like it's your mother, you go to your mom. I feel that we have to work for that, to be, you know, we are part of the whole.
Thank you. Anyone? I tried to get the quotation that he shared.
Tracy, did you say the Sermon on the Mount according to Vedanta?
Yes, yes.
In Vedanta, we had a talk on that a few months ago. Is that a Buddhist perspective?
It's you know, part of the Hindu teaching. So he was a yogi who, you know, was going through and, you know, sort of connecting Jesus' sermon with sort of the Hindu teaching.
Thank you.
Yes. It shows you how it's, you know, this is universal, and, you know, that God is also, God mourns. So when we mourn, we feel for others, and we feel that, you know, that's part of us being a reflection of God. You know, as Zora was saying, you know, God's not indifferent. You know, we shouldn't be indifferent, you know, even we have some things, but when people are suffering, there's a part of us that feel that.
Yeah. It says, blessed are the poor in spirit.
Yes.
What
It's an interesting statement, isn't it?
yes.
Because, you know, it's that, like that we were saying, you know, that the previous quote at the beginning, that God is a physician.
Yes.
You have to have that recognition. I need God. That spiritual hunger and recognition that I need something more than what I have. When we think, oh, well, I don't need anything. I don't need anyone. I don't need anything. You know, I don't need people's love or attention, you know, whatever, you know, that we just think we're full of ourselves. Then, you know, we can't be filled up anymore. It's like there's another Zen saying, you know, someone went to the professor and he gave him a cup of tea. You know, he was pouring the tea for him, and he kept on pouring, and the tea was coming out of the cup, and he couldn't take it anymore. He said, stop, it's overflowing, there's no space. He said, well, that's the same with you, you fill yourself. So really recognizing that, you know, I am poor. I need that love of God. I need to practice. I need to learn from others. I need to take in others' wisdom and their understandings. And, you know, it's a better spiritual posture.
Well, that's a great explanation. I always wondered what that meant.
I can see it here. If the person blesses the poor in spirit, to talk about the other way, God give us a job, mission. People are born with mission. With the spirit, they have to do mission. So words and deeds, actions. But if they are so poor in spirit, they will not be able to carry the task or the duty or responsibility that God put on people. Because in here, in the Bible you hear, they say, build the kingdom of God on earth. So if people have that sort of spirit, let's just say, they cannot carry out the job that God missioned to them. They got to have mission, otherwise their life will be useless. They will be like parasites. So that's one of the things that we have to be very careful when we try to interpret it. We bless out the poor in spirit. It means that we need to help them, to strengthen them, to power them, you feel of the spirit. We work in solidarity, in collective gathering, and as you say, cooperation. So we cannot leave them alone because they need help. That is compassion. So therefore, together with the strong people in spirit and the weak people in spirit, we work together to build the kingdom of God on earth. And when we get into heaven, they will be alongside with us, hand in hand. We will take them into the heaven gate and give them to God and say, God, you have given me these people, the poor in spirit. Now I strengthen them, take them to see you. And can you please see the kingdom that we built on earth?
Thank you.
My view is that the poor in the spirit, Christ means those people that are hungry for spirituality, because then they search for it and they find the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, that's what Tracy said.
Yeah. Yes.
And the Jung is looking at the same quotation in a different way. So by having looking at these things in different way, we can get much better understanding. And I also think that.
Can I add something here?
Yes.
In many religions, there are very similar writings. When I read this sermon, it comes to me that Baha'u'llah has written a tablet called Words of Wisdom, that in there is so similar to what this sermon is, that he mentions one by one those words of wisdom, those things that would make a human being better.
Mm-hmm.
Please try and find it. It's called Words of Wisdom by Baha'u'llah, and read it. It's so interesting and nice.
Yes. Any other comments?
I look into that, the poor in spirit as something egoless. Egoless people also are blessed.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the what here mentioned as poor in spirit, you mean
Poor in ego.
Okay. Well, that's another way of looking at it. Thank you. Thomas,
I like the way Pon is saying about ego. I think ego is always comes in on the way when you want to admit about your spirit. Ego comes and say, "No, I am the more important one than your spirit." I think ego has to be always calmed down or pushed down, something like.
What Sachi said, yes?
Yes.
You said Colin, so I was. Okay, Thomas, you want to say anything? Because
No,
Yes,
I'm just watching and listening. So this is my first time. So
it doesn't matter
I'm happy.
for all of us. This is first time this format, so you are as good as us in this way.
Mhm.
So feel free to put your hand up or press the button there or
Okay.
jump in. And let's yes.
Gus wanted to say something. Gospel?
Yes. What do you want to say? Oh, Jasper, yes, please.
Yes. Fact is that human being is in competition with God all the time. Why? Because this world is running with order of God. He is behind every action we do, behind every achievement we make in life. Still, human beings lives in perception that everything is done by me. This is what we call as ego. I am the doer. I do everything. I succeed with my own efforts. I am all powerful. This is nothing but competition with God. So how can a human being meet God with such deep thinking in every human being? The fact is that this feeling of being creator, being responsible for all the actions, being doer of everything, being responsible for all success he achieves, this is nothing but competition with God. Now, two things we cannot have a realization of God unless we shed this all things of being creator of everything, of being doer of everything, and being behind all things we do, that I am doing everything. Fact is that this is not just a myth. Only actions this world is being run by order of God. So when he shed this ego, how will he shed this ego? When he will understand this universe is being done by God. God has created this. He is my creator. I am his creation. So ultimately, when a stage comes, when he really submits before will of God, sheds all ego, and on that day, this starts real journey of realization. Okay, thank you so much, because a lot of time has come.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Okay, and now, but there may be one question people may ask. When we say everything that we do is God is behind it, the evil thing that we do, for example, killing someone or stealing something, that is not God's. God is not behind that. It is our free will that actually does it. Is it? Jasper?
Pardon, I have lost the context, I think. Are you listening me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I was asking the question.
Okay, you are telling that all don't agree, all will not agree that God is behind every action.
I agree with whatever you said, but there may be some question comes For example, if someone is killing another person, I don't think God is behind that action. It is the free will. It is the free will of that individual who chose to do that. It is not the will of God.
See, I can only say at this stage is that the people who become one with God, when I see their when I read their words, those who have become one with God, they say that this realization comes to them,
Yeah.
that no, there's nothing but God, and everything is happening with the will of God.
Yes.
And I was in myth. I was living in what we call as darkness.
Yeah.
That I couldn't realize it. Only when when me and God have become one. Now what is happening, I realize, is happening with the will of God, and God is doing everything. And in fact, each human being is nothing but manifestation of God. The day the spirit is gone, the man is just earth. Man is just the dust when the soul goes. We are only speaking, we are only working, we are only because of the soul.
Mm.
So we remain in myth unless we realize God, that no, I am responsible for all everything I am doing, and whatever happening is not only God is doing. This is a myth unless I have realized God. Fact is this.
Okay. Thank you. And now let's go to Ahmed's quotation. Can you see the quotation, Ahmed?
Yeah. It's good that we were talking about God, because this quotation is about God. Let me read it for you, then we talk about it. By the righteousness of my name, the All-Merciful, the pen of the Most High trembleth with a great trembling, and is so shaken at the revelation of these words. How puny and insignificant is the evanescent drop when compared with the waves and billows of God's limitless and everlasting ocean. And how utterly contemptible must every contingent and perishable thing appear when brought face to face with uncreated, the unspeakable glory of the eternal. We implore pardon of God, the all-powerful, for them that entertain such beliefs and give utterance to such words. Say, O people, how can a fleeting fancy compare with the self-subsisting, and how can the Creator be likened unto his creatures, who are but as the script of his pen? Nay, his script excelleth all things, and is sanctified from and immeasurably exalted above all creatures. Baha'u'llah gleanings from the writings of Baha'u'llah. Now, to me, we come from all different religions, and every one of us have got a picture of God. And I think Baha'u'llah is saying that whatever we think of what God is just a manifestation of our mind. We cannot comprehend and understand what God is. The only way we can understand God is through his manifestations and the attributes of the manifestations of God. Like Christ, the beauty of Christ was that he sacrificed himself for saving us. Or Muhammad, he was the utter beauty of meekness, rather than what people think now, that Islam is jihad and holy war. Or Buddha, You know, every one of those manifestations of God, they have attributes, that those attributes show an example of what God is. Baha'u'llah has got a nice, beautiful example for us to understand what God is. He brings the example of a carpenter and a chair. He talks about a carpenter takes some pieces of wood and he joins them together, colors them, shapes the wood, scratches on it, and ends up with a beautiful heavenly object. And he has got a purpose for that object, that object is for seating people on it so that they are comfortable. So he says that this example is the example of man and God. The chair can never understand his creator, the carpenter, because there is a limit in the understanding of the chair to understand his creator. So the same thing is valid for us. There's no way that we can understand God, or whatever we have an understanding of God is imagination of our mind. So God is limitless, it's beyond those descriptions. It's God's limitless and everlasting ocean. It's utterly contemptible for us to describe for ourselves what God is. The only thing we can do is say there is an existence there that is caring for us. It's created us. And he sends manifestations one after another in order to nurture us, develop us. And this is how humanity has progressed up to now. Many manifestations have come. And Baha'u'llah says this is progressive revelation of manifestations. And he says, I am the latest. So there'd be many more manifestations that would nurture this human being, this human civilization, in order to survive, to develop, and try to become heaven on earth, the existence that is in our next life on earth. I hope I describe what I understood from this quotation.
Yes. Any comments, please? And if anyone put their hands up, Tracy, Colin, you can ask them to talk because
Yeah, Gospel is asking to say something.
Okay. Jasper. Is it? Hello, Jasper.
Just trying to lower the hand.
Okay, it's okay. Young.
Thank you. I just have a small questions here for Ahmad.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned about understand God. We are human being. We are different from God. So I think it's quite a very high ambition when you mention about we try to understand God. Is there a need for us to understand God? Because as I understood that God and the divine being come to human through revelation or reveal themselves, they manifest themselves. If they want to see that person or that group of people, just like the apparition of Virgin Mary in Lourdes, in France, Portuguese. The second thing that everything we learn is from the history, from the Bible, from the book. And the training and education that been carried out for century and century and century and will never end, because the topic of God is very, very broad. And therefore, in here, I like one of the statements that in this reading that you post for us, we implore pardon of God. You're powerful. So that is one of the notion that whatever we understood God, and if it's right or wrong, we just ask, we be humble and ask for the pardon of God. And we make life simple that way.
Well, I didn't say that we're aiming at understanding God, because this quotation says that we cannot understand God. But I was saying that knowing God is only through the manifestations of God. He sends these manifestations in order for us to see what, well, not to see, but to grasp an understanding of what God is. For example, the attributes of these manifestations show us the holiness of God. When he says we implore pardon of God, he means when for those people that shape God into something and then believe that is God. Yeah. So my interpretation is that we cannot grasp God because it's beyond understanding of human beings to understand God. And the only way is through his manifestations that we can understand God. Like words of Christ.
Let's listen to Siva.
Look, Ahmad has beautifully said that the wood cannot understand the carpenter, the chair cannot understand the carpenter. And in like manner, man cannot understand God. And we can only understand God through the prophets the prophet who come from time to time. And each time God gives us what we can understand for that age. So the time of Moses, God told through Moses the 10 commandments, and we understood all the people at that time, they understood everything, and that's brought to order. And so different age have different dispensation. God sends down the teaching through prophet, and these prophet guide mankind. And this age also, there is a prophet. He has sent teaching to guide mankind. Thank you.
Thank you.
That sentence that says, how can the creator be likened unto his creatures? It clears the way that we cannot understand God.
Do we want to understand God though?
Well, he's created us, and Baha'u'llah in one of his quotations that I created thee so that you can recognize me and pray towards me. So he likes us human beings to understand him, but understanding of him is beyond our reach. We can only understand to some extent through the manifestations of God or through attributes of these manifestations.
And for me, it's like, when you study philosophy is very difficult subject and very abstract. And we talk about abstract because a lot of notions in a philosophy study, you just couldn't understand it. This is like talk about mystery or miracles or anything on it. So it's depend on the person who interpret the ideas of what that they read and what was written in the book. So therefore, as I say, people with low in spirit or the simple people, they are two different kind of people. They're completely different. Simple is different, but poor in spirit is different people. So therefore, everything we have to analyze. And you know, when you analyze a book of philosophy, you can spend years and years and years doing that. Just like when we try to analyze God ideas, we can take like million years to do that.
But I have to add something here, that we can understand or feel God, but inner eye, by inner heart, and that spirit that is put into us. We can feel him, we can understand him through that. But we cannot shape him into something. We cannot, for example, make a statue and say, this is God, and that sort of thing, where in the past people have done. Its essence is unknowable. Even the essence of nature is unknowable. We cannot grasp what structure of this physical world is even now. You know, the astronomers, they have found that what we see in the world is only 4% of what is there. They have found, or they have found evidence about what's called dark matter or dark energy in physics, and what we see in nature is only 4% of what there is in existence. So we can't even understand the essence of nature at the moment.
Even to say 4%, that means they have known the 100% is how much. So even that is not correct, right?
Yeah. So
it's actually, I think what Ahmed is trying to say is that the essence of all the created things themselves, we are unable to know. We only know them by their attributes or properties. We say this is a rose flower because of its color, shape, and the fragrance or whatever it is. But what is within it that actually make this happen, we have not fathomed it. And this applies to all created things. Now, if we cannot actually fathom the inner essence of a rose or a fruit, how much it is impossible to understand the essence of that power that actually was instrumental of creating this. So that is what it is. But what's her name? Jung had a question. Do we want to understand God? That's a good question, but that is up to each and every one of us.
No, I think it's his request, it's God's request that us to grasp, try to understand him, because he loved our creation, our created thee,
yes.
Hence I created thee. I love thee, hence I created thee.
Yes.
This is the quotation by Baha'u'llah.
When Jesus said, I am the way to God, right? So that means to attain the presence of God or to reach him or whatever it is, or closer to God. So that is in a different way of saying that trying to understand or trying to know God. But there is a slight difference between knowing God and understanding God.
Abdul Baha has another example. Is about the sun, the physical sun. Yes. He says that if this sun says, I am the son of yesterday, it's true. But if he says, I'm not the son of the yesterday, it's also true. Because the sun changes position, or earth position, because of earth's way of being in the space, the position of sun changes. So the sun of yesterday can say that I'm not the same son of the today, but the essence of that son that was yesterday is also the same as the one that was today. So this is a description for these manifestations. They're all from one source, but they came differently and formed differently in different times of history.
Yes. Any other comments? Thomas?
I feel that when gospel was saying that we are, he was saying that we are all, whatever is in the world is from God, or everything is from God, something like that. He was saying that, and then you were asking that, what about whatever some people do, the wrong things, is that also from God? But I feel that if you align yourself with the spirit, the right spirit, then you are a part of this God, like the Holy Spirit. But if you are doing something opposite, the alignment with this right spirit, which we call it God, if you are doing things aligned with the right God, then you are a part of God. But if you are doing something totally different, but I feel that maybe you have to elevate yourself a bit higher to get to that. Again, we're talking about the 7 valleys, how to get to that, to be aligned with the right spirit. I don't know. I think, I couldn't say it properly.
Yes.
I have to add to it that if we accept this thing, that only good actions represent God, bad actions don't represent God, then because this is just a drama we see around, God has created this drama in which he has not created world of one side. If imagine if there was only goodness in this world, no bad things, then how important it is to be good, we would not have realized. So God has created the world like that. He has created both sides, good, bad, compassion, and then being cruelty also. We see both the things. We see people sorrow, we in grief, we see people enjoying happy. So this word is so much, we have variety here. Maybe God want to see the word like that, in which we see two sides, not only one side, but two sides. And if it was to be so many prophets have come, they would have changed this word into only good, and even during their time, all were not good, and even some did very bad things to prophets. So that means negative things were not removed from this world even during the God came in the form of prophets, even at that time. And people, some were really cruel to the prophets also. So that means this word is actually a variety in which God has created all these variety of things, good, bad, cruel, compassion. And if we want to see the only one side, the world will not be like that. That can be my assumption, but word is not going to be like that.
Abdul says it a bit different. Abdul says that darkness does not exist. It's the lack of light in there that we call it darkness. So everything is good, but the lack of goodness is the cause of these things. You know, if a person murders a person, it's because there's lack of goodness in that person that causes that death or murder. The actual badness does not exist in the world. Everything is good. The lack of it, the lack of goodness is those things.
I think Baha'u'llah also says that We are all like we are playing in movies, like everybody has something to play. I think what gospel is saying is very right in that way of Baha'u'llah saying we are all in, like everybody is doing their job. No, it's like, you know, when you have given something to play in the movie, then somebody is bad person, somebody is good person, like that. I think the world is also like that.
Yes. So there's a role for there's a role for someone to do the bad things in this world. Yeah,
Maybe go to the
it is a challenging topic that, yes, I agree that it is explained that in reality, there's no darkness. That means in reality, there is only light. In the world, we have light because of sun. The sun is continuously emitting the rays, and the light is always there. We see darkness because something is obstructing that light. So in reality, there is only light. In reality, there is only happiness. In reality, there is only good. But lack of those things are the one that is making that negative thing. But why this is happening? Why in the prophecies it is said that Jesus would be crucified? So God knew this is going to happen, but he didn't stop it because we don't know. I mean, so there is some kind of play as this is going on towards a golden day. But I think, in my opinion, they individually we have a free will. That is, God gave us a choice. Use our mind to choose, and if we choose the wrong thing or bad thing, then the bad consequences will happen. If we choose the good thing, the good consequences will happen. So there is an element that God has given us to play, and that is why the drama that we see. But ultimately, it is God's will that is going to play out. That's how I understand. Anyway, we are already 9 o'clock. If we have, did anyone else have any quote?
I had a second
quote. Yes. Let me.
It's number 12.
Go on.
Okay. I've picked up this from Quran. Let me read this with my bad Arabic. Hopefully I can say it and then read the translation. Elaman ta'aba wa amana wa amila amalan salihan fa awliyaika yu'badu Allahu sayyatuhum hasanatin wa kana Allahu ghafurur rahiman. Save him who repenteth and believeth and doeth righteous work. As for such, Allah will change their evil deeds to good deeds. Allah is ever forgiving, the merciful. Now, I chose this quotation because to me, this quotation shows what we have to do and to show the extent of forgiveness and mercifulness of God to us. That whatever bad things we do, we could change that by doing good deeds. Then it would be acceptable in the eye of God. So I'll leave it to you guys to give your interpretations.
Young, you want to say something?
Yes, please. I just be very quick here. We have the sun for the day and the moon for the night. So some people born at the moon time, so they have different mood. Some people born at the sun time, so they have different mood. So there definitely there is the darkness or the light. They is very different. You see, not because you like, not because you are born at nighttime moonlight, that they are not good, not like that. But what I'm saying, there are two elements in universe. They're light and they're dark. And therefore we should be careful when we say the light is the absence of darkness. There's that philosophy notion, or it's not philosophy notion, or that a scientific notion, then we should be studying more about that. And people, human beings, should not disturb universe by just keep sending rockets up to the moon, then create not balancing among all other elements. Thank you.
Well, that wasn't about this quotation, was about the previous one.
No, I just had to say a bit further, in accordance with, the absence of light will create darkness.
Our actions are important. From this quotation, understand our actions are important. We can change our badness by doing good deeds. And God is merciful, forgiveful.
Yes. Yeah, ultimately, he is the judge, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we have to open our eyes, see beauty in everything. That is the main also things, that if you look at the flowers, you don't look at the thorn or if it's gone somewhere, but you look at the beauty and the fragrance of the flowers. You see beauty in everything. And even in a person, you look at what good they have, their goodness, rather than if you find faults in things, there's always faults in somewhere. Even a rose has some thorn. That is the main things, as Abdul Baha also says, if somebody has 100 faults, but one good quality, you look at the good quality. I think it comes to that.
Very tough, very true.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other? Anyone wants to share anything? Thomas, why don't you say something? Because
Well, okay. I will say I found concepts, comments, thought-provoking. So, that we know that the physical world is always going to have some differences of opinion and conflict. And so that it's not going to change. There's going to be at least even a minority that's going to try to stir up trouble. But the eternality of this situation means that there must be some ultimate understanding that exists in the eternality of this conflict between good and our ignorance and knowledge, let's say, instead of good and evil, let's say ignorance and knowledge in this world. And so I appreciate comments.
thank you. Who else? Robert, you haven't uttered a word. Would you share some wisdom? You had to unmute.
Not this evening, but I found it very interesting and deep.
Yes. Colin, Sachi. Yes, Robert. Yes, go ahead. Oh, who was trying to say something?
Oh, Siva, it's me. I was going to suggest.
Oh,
I was going to suggest that when you don't have a speaker, maybe we should use this version of our meeting because it's very useful.
Yes, I find that it is very useful. Maybe we can do it in a planned and organized way so that there are certain quotations that we want to share, and then each one has the opportunity to say something about their quotation, and then we discuss together. Yes, why not?
Or invite also people from different faiths to present quotations from their faith, and then we can discuss those quotations.
Yes. Okay, and Sachi.
Oh, in fact, I have one question.
Yes.
From all of you. Do you all believe in dinosaurs? They were there?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah. So during pre-human ages, how was the God? What was he doing? We are now trying to define this and that and complicating so much. So before the human, what is the definition and what was the work of the, just we have to think of the history. Because our human or Homo sapiens are maximum about 100,000 years.
Yes.
Our religions go up to say 10,000, 15,000 years. Before that,
yes.
So the things have to be looked into that also. That was my view. Anyway, I would like to just put this question to you. Age of human, age of the earth, age of the dinosaurs and things like that. So then how are you going to define God during that period? Now we are simply complicating, that's what I feel.
Well, you see, you have to look at the whole creation. There are many galaxies. In those galaxies, there would be many planets like Earth that would have human intelligence in there, and God will send manifestations to them, yeah? So you cannot just look at the Earth itself. That's what I'm saying, that we cannot understand God, the nature of God. It's beyond us. And you know what the scientists say, that today's birds are remnants of those dinosaurs. So the dinosaurs evolved into birds.
Well, yes, we have the science which is trying to understand the.
No, life is there for 3 billion years.
Well, yes.
According to science, history, unicellular things started about 3 billion years ago, yes, and slowly developed.
Yes.
And there are evidences for that. And we are the latest human, are the latest evolved, say, Homo sapiens, 100,000 years. So I also, this is what made me to read about science and get into that. I was also a God man before. But I would like some answers from you, if you can clear that to me.
Colin wants to say something.
Just inquisitive, not targeting.
Yeah, I like Sachi's view, is very well expressed. And it's also the same view was expressed very well by Richard Feynman, who is a Nobel Prize-winning scientist, physicist. And I've got his a little clip of him speaking on my website. He says that, how can it be that there's so much time and so much space, and yet we talk about God just being relevant to this very limited time. He says it's all out of proportion. But he doesn't reject the idea of God, but he says that, you know, he's still thinking about it. So I can understand that, and the way I reconcile it is that space and time are not that important for God or for purpose or for spirituality. They're just, it's like, imagine it was 1 second, took 1 second of preparation, then we had humanity. It's exactly the same as billions of years.
Can I say something here? Time, if you look at what time is the movement of Earth around the sun and the rotation of Earth. If you remove this and you go further into the space, time disappears. Yeah. So time is described by us, is a definition by us. In creation, there is no meaning of time and space. They're all meaningless when you look at the whole thing.
Okay, now I think it is very broad subject that we cannot possibly finish it in one meeting, not in few minutes, in one meeting, even in 100 years or 1,000 years. It is going to be there for a long time. But what is common in this is that we are all trying to find an answer. We are all searching. Yes. So I like to. This is. I must have shared this before. This is from one of the letters from the Universal House of Justice last year. And it said, but whether through deeds or words, the merit of your every contribution to social well-being lies first in your resolute commitment to discover that precious point of unity where contrasting perspectives overlap and around which contending peoples can coalesce. So if we are thinking about ourselves as people who are trying to do something good for this world, whatever we are doing, the merit of it lies first in this, to discover the precious point of unity where contrasting perspectives overlap. So we have contrasting perspectives. Even those who belongs to one faith, they have contrasting perspective in one quotation. Or those who believe in God has contrasting perspectives on God himself. So if we are trying to do something good in the society, let us try to find the precious point of unity in these contrasting perspectives, around which the contending people can coalesce. So we don't want to be the contending people. We are trying to find the precious point of unity. That is one thing that I want to share. And also this one, I think I shared earlier also, the relationship, Baha'i faith relationship to the other religions. We, as a Baha'i, that after reading this quotation for the first time, maybe 30 years ago, my outlook changed. So I want to re-emphasize for the benefits of the Baha'is that when we are trying to interact with the other religious friends or other beliefs, we have to bear this in mind. So probably from here we can read, it says regarding the Baha'i faith, it neither seeks to obscure their divine origin, that is of the other religions, nor to dwarf the admitted magnitude of their colossal achievements. It can countenance no attempt that seeks to distort their features or to stultify the truths which they instill. Its teachings, that is Baha'is teachings, do not deviate a hairbreadth from the verities they enshrine, the verities the other religious scriptures enshrine. Nor does the weight of its message detract one jot or one tittle from the influence they exert or the loyalty they inspire. Far from aiming at the overthrow of the spiritual foundation of the world's religious systems, it's about its unalterable purpose is to widen their basis, to restate their fundamentals, to reconcile their aims, to reinvigorate their life, to demonstrate their oneness, to restore the pristine purity of their teachings, to coordinate their functions, and to assist in the realization of their highest aspirations. So I believe that for us to think about these things, especially in the Baha'is, how we should consider the other holy writings and how we should approach. With that, I'll just play a music. For unity.
Strength to serve thee.